to Unleashing Your Full Potential. This is the dashboard page where you come into once you log into the system. There is a very good video here explaining the concept and how one comes together, and there's some steps to follow to walk you through, also showing you what the various symbols mean when we come to the achievement plan. But let's start with the first section, which is well-being. Here we have a description of what we understand well-being to be, and we can see the different scores for the three key elements that you rated in your online assessment with the definition. So every statement actually has a definition supporting that statement. And so what we're looking at here in health, you'll see that, for instance, my score then was an 8, my score for mental well-being was a 6, and my spiritual score was a 7. And when we look at the definitions, health, what we're saying is I scored an 8 on my physical health, the quality of my diet and my exercise, which is important. On the mental well-being, how well am I balancing my personal needs and taking care of myself? And I kind of see myself as a 6 in that situation. So really, out of the three elements, that's the one I'm not really looking after enough. And on the spiritual side is looking at meaning and life purposes. I have a good understanding what my purpose is and what the meaning of my life is as far as I'm concerned. So the secret here is to try and get them in balance. It's not recommended to drive something down, because if we do, how do we know when enough is enough? So the real sort of secret here is to look at how can I bring things up in balance. So the first one really is about looking at oneself and seeing how can I value myself and look after my personal needs as well. If I can bring it up to at least in line with that, then I'm more or less in balance. So we can have a look at the next part of this page, which is looking at what are the things you can do. And what we're looking here is what can you start doing, what can you start doing, what can you continue doing, and what do you need to stop doing that is having some detrimental effect on yourself. And so in this situation, what I've said here, stop doing, I should stop going to bed after 11:30 every night, Monday to Thursday. Of course, weekends I want to have that freedom. Some of the other things I should stop doing, I stop reacting to situations. So if I'm reacting, I'm actually not in control, and I need to be more in control. And on the spiritual side, doing things that don't conflict with my values and my beliefs. So understanding what my values and my beliefs are, then making sure I don't find myself in compromising situations. What I should continue doing here is continue to walk the dog, because it's good exercise for me. I must reflect while I'm walking the dog. So I don't have to just be walking a dog in zombie mode. I can be reflecting, using that time better. And the spiritual side is actually following my why. I understand what my why is. So how can I now follow it more? Some of the things I need to start doing is need to do some stretches before and after my walking. Need to start creating relaxing points for each day, taking some control of giving me some quality time for myself, and then finding ways of doing things that are aligned with my values and my beliefs. And once we're satisfied with that, what we do is we then click the submit button. The reason for doing that is it automatically goes and creates us some goals, or the starting point of some goals. So you can clearly see I have got a couple of goals that I've set up here, and we'll walk a little bit through this so you can get a better understanding. If you're wanting to do any amendments, i.e. in this situation for this one over here, reflecting while walking the dog, I can click on the little edit button there, and it opens up the actual goal. And we do follow the SMART methodology here. So thinking about, okay, what are the measures? How can I record my daily things that I want to do, reflecting while walking the dog? So I think the first thing I need to do is to think about what am I going to do, and how am I going to record this? So we have a gratitude journal here. So what I should be thinking about is how can I then record that information? So before starting the walk with the dog, before walking, reflect on what's going on in my mind. Could be a very good thing, isn't it? So before walking, reflect on what is going on in my mind. Oh, what? Sorry, what I am thinking of. That should be better. Okay, so reflecting on what is going on in my mind. It could be I need to make a decision or what it may be. Get into grips with that, and then the actions is really exploring the various uh, options that are available. So that would be really good, wouldn't it? Because I can then one of the actions is then to note the final outcome. Outcome in the gratitude journal. Okay, because that's a way of recording, and I think that's realistic. And let's set that for the next. Let's look at doing that for 90 days. Okay, and then save. So what you've seen is now created the goal for me, and I've got something to work on now. Of course, you can think about if you're going to go through all of the different sections, you're going to have many goals, and we can't do them all at the same time. So what I recommend is to think of what are the three sort of key areas that you want to work on, and then focus on that. When you've completed the goal, it'll you go over here and you click on the tick, any of these ticks. It will then put it into the completed objectives, and you can see what you've done. Okay. If you haven't completed the goal, what we're going to do is click on the cross. And what that does, it takes us to the lessons learned. So in the situation over here, let's have a look at, I'll just open it up so you can see it. I find myself feeling anxious regularly. This creates further stress, stealing my joy and my inner peace, undermining my confidence. That was the consequence of not achieving that goal. The unintended consequences, the knock on effect on my wife and my family. Sometimes the feeling of just wanting to walk away, feeling overwhelmed. I became reactive and find myself saying and doing things that are not the norm for me. So that's really, really interesting, isn't it? Because now what I can start to see when I come onto my lessons learned, what are the situations that are having the goal was simply to reduce my anxiety by feeling less stressed and more present. And obviously, I never did that. And as a result of that, the consequence, I found myself feeling more anxious. And the unintended consequence was people around me were suffering as well. So this helps us to start to look at that. And then we can either decide, okay, that's fine. I'm learned from that. I'm not going to worry about that. And look at maybe how do we look at gaining control in a different way? And you can set yourself a brand new a goal because you can come to your current situation and all you need to do is click on that. I hope this has helped you to find your feet in just the first session.